Okay, so today we're going to do something a little different. Today we're going to do a special that's about a good movie instead of a bad one. Today we're going to uncover the obscure and somewhat forgotten classic Child's Play 1, the very first one. There's a lot to unpack in this movie, so this video might be running a little long, but I'm going to get to all of it. Number one, subtle evil is implied in every single scene that Brad Dourif or Chucky is in. Speaking of Bradley Boy, one of the great things about Brad Dourif in this movie is he brings a very intense, palpable, obvious rage and evil to Chucky's dialogue. And in the few scenes that he's in as a human character and not just a voice, he plays a really dark character really well. One very interesting thing about this movie is that there's some dark characters in the movie, but none of them are one-sided and none of them are boring. And you know from the start of the film onward that you're in for a hell of a ride. Another interesting little dedication to detail moment is when Charles Lee Ray uses the Damballa incantation. Much later on in the film, we find out that there's a voodoo guy that taught Charles the spell, and the voodoo guy actually, spoiler alert, tries to stop him. It doesn't go as planned, or really doesn't go well at all, but he tries to. And I looked it up, and in the Haitian voodoo mythology, Damballa is not a villain or an evil spirit. So it was just a little interesting detail that the voodoo guy tried to stop the evil doll from using voodoo to do evil things. Maybe I'm overthinking this movie, but I don't think I am. To me, there was always something just deeply sinister about the company that made the Chucky doll, not just the doll itself, but the packaging, there was something deeply sinister to me that's hard to explain about the big toy company that manufactured the doll. And of course, their behavior later in the series was objectionable too. I mean, but that's for later in the series. This movie does a lot of tones and subtext as well. But the tone of the scenes that just contain the boy and his mom are really very different from the tone of the rest of the movie, which they should be. It's a good thing. One of the enduring tropes of horror that this movie typifies is the fact that there's a few sparkling moments of just little comedy in it, where it's something funny either happens or something really, really subtle is a joke in the dialogue. But there's few of those in this. This movie is bleakly dark, really, really dark. But the overtones of it are what make it the darkest movie in the series, probably. In a lot of ways, I think this movie is about how the innocence and purity of childhood is tarnished and sometimes just destroyed outright by the predations of the seriousness and complexity of the adult world and the predations of evil predators like Charles Lee Ray. But one of the really fantastic things about this movie is that in the Chucky is moving around doing things sequences, a lot of the time you see a low, fast point of view shot and you don't see Chucky at all, or you see only a glimpse of him, or only just a piece of his body. This is great for two reasons. Number one, it builds a lot of suspense, and because you don't really know whose viewpoint you're seeing, because Andy, the little kid, is almost close to the same size as the doll. And secondly, it saves money because you don't have to do complicated stop motion shooting or any of that to show his real actions, or to show definitely what he's doing. Well-crafted, subtle, sexual, and psychic tension between virtually every single character in the story is present. It's very subtle, but it's present. Psychosocial tensions are present between a lot of different characters, and even some of the bit characters who you only see in one scene, or you only see in very few scenes, have well-crafted tension of subtle differences and tensions between themselves and the other characters. The main four characters that I see it in, however, when I watch the movie over again, are the two main women in the story and Andy and the dog. But since one of the main women in the movie dies pretty early in the movie, actually, the tension quickly switches from them to the mom and the cop that's involved in the story. Interestingly enough, the cop is not totally ineffective. He just, for a lot of the movie, he doesn't believe what's actually going on and doesn't want to get involved and, thinks it's a conventional case. And he just eventually runs out of red herrings and is forced to confront the reality of what is actually going on. And only then does he become very effective. And even then, it's not that effective. The movie also has a lot of subtle tensions about, is the doll actually alive, or is the kid doing all of it? But that's dispelled by the movie itself pretty quickly, actually, but it ratchets way up, and then it's suddenly gone, and the movie does that with other types of tension, too. Ratchets give you definite indirect evidence that Chucky is doing something, or at least we're being led to believe that he is, but then snatch that away because nobody else in the movie believes it except the one character who's received it.